Welcome to the Hearts Entwined Podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow Technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined Podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today I've got a lovely lady, Shona Moeller, all the way from the USA. Whereabouts in the USA are you, Shona?
I'm from Chicago.
Chicago. And what time is it there this morning?
Oh, it's 1:20 in the afternoon. So we're all good. It's not 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. I just wondered because I know that normally, when I speak to some Americans, they can be really on the early morning time zone and I can be on the quite late evening time zone.
Yeah.
So, Shona, what I really like to initially do with my lovely guests is get them to share something about their background which gives the audience an insight into why they may have actually decided to embark upon being a coach within this industry.
Oh, yeah. My husband, Robert Conlon, you just did a podcast with him. He actually was my inspiration for becoming a coach. I had been a swim coach for 20 some years and was really looking to shift some things up. And I always knew that there was something more in the coaching realm, but I didn't really know about life coaching until right before I met him. I was at a point in my life when I was 38 and I was single and really wanting to look at what was stopping me from finding the love of my life. And so I started looking for life coaches and matchmakers. And I connected with one, and then Robert and I met. And it was at that moment where I swiped right on Tinder and he was a life coach. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's something more at work here. Because there was something about his profile that just lit me up. Yeah. And looking back, now that I've gone through the same program and training that he's gone through, I can absolutely see why his profile stood out, because it was almost like light was shining out of the profile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no coincidences. We attract who we're meant to attract to learn the lessons we're meant to learn. And, whether that be challenging or fulfilling, is down to our own journeys and level of awareness at any one moment in time, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. I was doing a bunch of work on my own, like a few months before I met him. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a lot of the work that we do as a coach. I was not formally trained with myself, but I was really, really committed to shifting my life so that I could align with the person that I really needed to be with and really wanted to be with from like a deep soul level.
The thing that I think you shared with me off air that you are quite passionate around is this subject of self-love and empowering the self-love within. And I feel that this is a very, very hot subject for people to get the head around. So how do you introduce that when you're working with people?
It's really all about, typically I work with women, and I like to say the courageous man. And I introduce it in a way that supports them to shift their own mindset and shift some of their inner thoughts so that they can unleash the inner beauty that they have everywhere. Really, it's in service of creating the life that they want in every specific area that they want, and to empower the love that they have for themselves and the beauty that they have within, so that everyone in the world and every single person they come in contact with sees that light, sees that love that they have for themselves. And it ultimately shifts so many people's perspectives and who they connect with and what they're committed to. It really creates this snowball effect of shifting every single aspect of our lives in order to live the life that we're here to live. It's really beautiful.
And this isn't about, educating people to be arrogant or egotistical, is it? We're not talking about that here, no. Are we?
No, what even thing? Yeah, it's really about there's this idea that self-love, it has to do with narcissism and arrogance. And I actually just recently was doing some research and found that thesaurus.com actually defines self-love as narcissism and arrogance. And I was so appalled. I wrote a whole post on it. And this is something that we get to change the narrative of, in our culture, is really shifting the idea that self-love it's an inside job that we all get to just feel comfortable in our skin. It's become socially acceptable to beat ourselves up, to be so busy that we can't take on self-care. And that idea has just led to the idea that self-love is narcissism, when it's the most important relationship that we get to cultivate in our lifetime.
Yeah, I think the distinction comes from, where is that self-love coming from? Is it coming from a place of, being heartfelt and that caring compassion that we can have for ourselves? Or is it coming from, more of a headspace and this egotistical, arrogant self?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. We like to call it our essence, or our highest and best. And when it's not coming from that space, when it's coming from, feeling self-conscious so that you have to show that you have self-love to everybody else, then that's when it gets to be, it appears as wonky to everybody else.
So there's the unhealthy side of it, which is what you said was described in, as being narcissistic, which is, like you say, quite horrifying to read that when we're trying to educate people to love themselves from that good space, that healthy space of, just being caring and compassionate for who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really creating a strong bond with who you are at the core of the loving, compassionate self that you are.
And we can be our own worst enemies without even realizing it, because quite often we're living our lives, aren't we, and letting life happen to us and being, I suppose, blaming life for happening to us, and feeling as though we're not in control of that, when actually, if we stand still and take stock of ourselves, we are in control of our lives. We can empower ourselves, and we can definitely, always do our best to strive from living from that heartfelt space, as I like to call it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of us think that, and I thought this for so long, for most of my life, is that life is just happening to me, when there's so much choice out there, and we get to actually create who we are for ourselves, and then who we are for others, and who we are out in the world, and what else we want to create from that space.
And it's not actually selfish, to want to be the best version of yourself and allow yourself time to take care of yourself, to give yourself that me time. It's actually selfless to do that, because if you're not giving yourself that self-care, then quite often you can be operating in a place of, feeling quite overwhelmed or stressed, and then you can't be the best self for your partner or your children or your relatives or your friends, can you?
No, I love that you brought that up, that it's one of the the most important fundamental things that we need to do is the self-care piece. And it's not just like taking a bath, because you could be taking a bath and beating yourself up the whole time for giving yourself some time. It's the mindset that goes along with the action. So you could be taking a bath and be miserable and feel guilty and ashamed that you're not taking care of your family or not taking care of your business or whatever. Or you could be taking a bath and being really present in the moment and using that space to really surrender, to be present, to use it as a loving space.
Yeah. And don't we deserve to pamper ourselves more?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's not as, unfortunately, it hasn't been as valued as being super productive and super busy. But what I've noticed in a few things that I've actually taken a step back from is when I allow myself time to take care of myself and be selfish in the best way, it actually breeds creation, because our brains can have time to just relax and unwind. And that's where we allow our brains to create and generate and love. And that surrender and that space that we give ourselves is so important.
And when you touched on the word surrender, and I think some women, are very touchy around that word surrender. And it's not surrendering in terms of being weak or passive or submissive. It's just, allowing yourself to be still, isn't it? And like you say, embrace and pamper yourself in that moment, and love, and be in love with who you are in that moment, but from a place of compassion, and not, like you say, with all these negative thoughts going on, such as feeling guilty or ashamed of not spending time doing something else for somebody else.
Oh yeah, it's totally spot on. Thanks for saying that. The surrender piece is it's almost like you're climbing a rope that is unending, and you're just climbing and you're like gripping so tightly, and there's like no end in sight. But oftentimes when we surrender from a place that's super loving for ourselves, we let go of this rope and know that we'll be okay. A lot of times when people think about surrender, they don't really view that letting go and like maybe letting some things, quote unquote, fail is actually some of the most loving things you can do, because no matter what, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And the thing is that I really thought I learned something a couple of years ago when I was watching, I think it was a video about, a female billionaire who said she has some very valuable life lessons from her father, in that when she came home from school as a child, he always asked them to celebrate, and talk about their failures and perceived mistakes, because he says they're the lessons, that you can really learn from, and not see them as
that's so cool.
failures or mistakes, but see them as learning opportunities. And she said that was what really, the most valuable life lesson she learned from her father. And I thought, that's great. I love that.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, oftentimes we view failure as a direct hit on who we are as a person, and it takes, it almost like takes a hit to our own self-worth, when failures and resiliency are some of the things that actually allow us to learn and grow and be with ourselves in a way that, if we allow compassion in during those moments, it's like they can be the most profound moments of our life.
I think it's just like you say, it's a mindset switch around how we perceive, what failure actually means to us, what a mistake actually means to us, what rejection, especially when it comes to dating. How people receive that can make a difference as to how they show up, or don't, when it comes to another opportunity to date.
Yeah, I mean, I went on 150 to 200 first dates before I met Robert. And I definitely went through those moments where I was, I questioned who I was and questioned, the whole process, and made things mean a lot about who I was and my worthiness. And it was, it was hard at times.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite sayings is, "We don't know what we don't know, do we?" Until we do.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one too.
Yeah. So, how long a period of time were you sort of going through all these dates then, and having your life shaped to get to where you were obviously meant to be, until you met your dearly beloved Robert?
I actually didn't start dating until later. I started dating right around 24. I was a collegiate swimmer, and I dated a little bit in college, but a few guys here and there. And then I finally met Robert when I was 38, and I had roughly 3 relationships in there that were about 7 months long. So I think Robert and I got engaged within 8 months. So my longest relationship was right when we got engaged.
Really?
I was like, do you know what you're getting yourself into?
So that felt, once you'd gone past that 7 months, though, I'm assuming you felt that was a bit of a milestone in itself.
Totally. Yeah, we were already making our engagement rings. So I had a good clue that things were going really, really well. Beside the love,
So what made you think, there's a great, I suppose, 14-year period of time there where you learned some fantastic lessons. So how were you showing up, when you were dating Robert, differently to how you were showing up previously?
Oh yeah. I had this idea in my head that the more dates I went on, the better. And I was going through the motions. I wasn't thinking about who I was being. I was victimized by the whole process. If you would have talked to me at the time, I probably would have said I wasn't being victimized by it. But when friends and family would ever ask me about it, it would create this heartache. Like, what's going on with dating? And it would just, I was completely victimized by the fact that all my friends were dating or married or had kids already, and I was 37, 38 and didn't have anybody. I mean, that victimization started pretty early, probably around like 27 to right around 27, when we all think we should be in certain relationships that look a certain way. And I had it in my head that I was going to get married at 27. And how could that not happen? Of course I was going to get married at 27 and then have kids by the time I was 31. And it just kept not happening. And so it became this weapon that I used against myself so often. And that had me aligning with men that were exactly the same, who were nice. They were nice guys, but some of them were a little intense, and some of them were just, wanting things so badly that they didn't care who they were going out with. I definitely went on the gamut for relationships, but then, or I guess for dates. But the thing that shifted was when I graduated with my second master's, and I was like, this is going to be the year of me celebrating myself. This was when I was 38, and I decided to go to New Zealand on a trip. And And ever since I made that decision, I was like, I'm going to celebrate me, not anybody else. This is all about me and what I want to create, because I can't wait for the man to save me or the man to complete me. This is my life. And so there was an ownership and a responsibility that I started taking. I started looking for a house to buy in my own in Chicago. I started waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, doing all these different manifesting exercises. I started talking to spirit guides. I did all, like, if you're into woo-woo stuff, I definitely started doing some really cool spiritual things that and manifesting and incantations and gratitude exercises. And I really stayed committed to those exercises for months at a time. I would say these incantations in my car on my way to work for 45 minutes, to the point where I was crying and feeling the experience of having a home and a husband to come home to. And it just allowed me to no longer victimize my experience of dating. And so there was that mind shift that started to happen, and a love and a compassion for myself, that, like, I wasn't going to go on any more dates that were just subpar. It was not going to happen from that place. And then I found Robert on Tinder.
Well, I love what you said about taking ownership and that responsibility for yourself. And if you wouldn't mind, for the benefit of the audience, because I know that some of them will be listening thinking, well, what were those incantations she was saying to herself? Would you be prepared to share one or two of those, what they were?
Sure. I mean, when I was getting ready in the morning, I was, to the point where I was being grateful for the hot water that was coming out of the faucet. I was being grateful for my family. And then, so after I did my gratitude, a lot of my gratitude work, that's when I started to do the incantation. And I would say the same thing over and over and over. I did it for months. I'm so happy and grateful for my husband, my health, my family, and my home. And I just kept repeating it out loud. Super simple. And it had a bit of a rhythm to it. And I put a Post-it note in my car driving to work. And I would, every morning, I wouldn't even put my makeup on before I got to work, because I knew that there would be these feelings that would come up in me, and I would start crying. So I waited to put on my mascara until I got to work.
And I think it's important for people to know that sometimes when you decide if you're going to take part in these sorts of exercises, that's, to start with, it might not feel comfortable to you, or even that you're actually feeling the words, but eventually after a while it comes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I had made up my mind that this was going to happen, and I didn't go into these incantations thinking it wasn't going to support me. I viewed it as a super loving thing that I was doing for myself, and I believed those words. Like, I believed that was already happening, and that belief behind that was super powerful.
I think that's the difference between, entering an exercise with, you need to see to believe rather than to believe to see.
Yeah. And it takes so much faith to believe in something that is absolutely non-existent. It takes so much faith, and it takes so much courage, because what if, there's always all these what ifs. What if it doesn't actually happen? But the faith that really continues to support the belief is so important and so foundational.
And it's just trusting the process, isn't it? It's just trusting the process. And like you said, you really believed it before it actually happened, and so that's how you manifested it for yourself. because you had that strong belief. You didn't need to see it or have it existing for you at that time. But the way I think about things is that they are already here and present for us. We only need to, the creative part is when it shows up.
Right.
It's already here. The creativity comes in, when it shows itself. And so that's the way I sort of define creativity is, having those thoughts and beliefs and those strong emotions attached to that without needing to see it in our reality, if you like, but just know it's already there, but you can't see it yet. But the creative part is when you do see it and it shows up.
Yeah, and it's essentially aligning like your soul's purpose. That belief just really, it creates the bond with yourself in a way that you probably have never created before.
And it might sound a bit strange to some people that have never had a go at doing these exercises, but, we're just opening the door for possibilities here. We're not expecting everybody to think, oh my gosh, this is all really strange. I've not heard anything like this before, and I need to close the door on this. We're just opening the door a little bit for you to think about what if this could be true for you, and why not try it and go for it and see if any of these exercises that Shona's been prepared to share resonate with you and could hold true for you, but with a bit of creativity, they will show. Because it wasn't that you already had a husband and a home at this particular moment in time. You actually embarked on the belief that it was already in your life, but the reality was, for the people outside of that, it wasn't actually real at that moment in time. But you created that opportunity for yourself, and it showed.
Yeah, within months. Yep. I was very aware that if someone were to like be in my car and look at me and see what was going on, they probably would have thought that I was crazy. But I didn't care, because nothing was going to stop me from, starting to shift my mindset, because I knew intuitively that's the thing that I really needed. And it's such a unique conversation that a lot of people have never even thought of or heard of before.
Yeah. And I'd like to share, I did a similar sort of process, although I didn't, verbalize in a car journey any I can't say the word now,
Mantras.
Yeah. You know what I'm trying, what I did was I did write a letter to Paul before I even met him, and I described traits about him, and I strongly thought, so it was in my thoughts rather than verbalized out loud about that letter, that I wrote about manifesting this man. And literally, like you said, within 6 months, he was there.
Yeah, I did one of those too, and so did Robert. And we actually, within a few weeks of meeting each other, we read each other's list to each other, which was really fun. My manifestation list.
Yeah. And within that, he laughs about it now. He says, I know that, you did get your scriptures wrong a little bit, though. He said, I bet you'd rewrite them a little bit now if you had that time again. I says, well, yes, to be fair. Yeah, that I've
been on. Meet 100% satisfaction. Does it come with a cashback guarantee?
No, there was some details I perhaps missed within it. But
so then, funny. Did he write anything down in order to attract you?
No, he didn't. But he certainly was quite impressed when he saw and read the letter that I had written, that sort of summed him up. And but it was interesting that I suppose that the details now that we laugh and joke about are obviously very, very, very powerful learnings that I can now share with the audience members and clients, because without those details, not having showed themselves previously, there would be things, bits of wisdom that I wouldn't be aware of now that I could share.
Right.
So it's all good. It's all good.
Love that.
Right, Shona, thank you so much for sharing your story and such a lot of interesting pieces of information around, the importance of, empowering the love within and how you managed to do that, and also share some tips around how you attracted Robert into your life. So on the back of that, I'm going to say thank you very much. And I'm sure our listeners would love to know what's the best contact information you could share with them.
Oh, yeah. We have, I think I'll give you our We Meet Again information. So we coach couples and singles together. It's really powerful. Our masculine and feminine energies are really pretty incredible. So our website is wemeetagaincoaching.com and hello@wemeetagaincoaching for the email.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And as always, listeners, I'll make sure Shona's other bio information and contact information is in our show notes for those people that would like to get in touch with her and her fabulous partner, Bob, who is, as you've probably gathered, somebody I've had on previously and works with her, in the relationship industry. So thank you so much again, Shona.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
And on that final note, I shall just share, as always, true love starts with opening your hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.